In this movie, I'll show you how to adjust problems associated with stacking order using the bring to front and send to back commands. So I'll go ahead and switch to the wide view of my illustration in progress. And stacking order is the way that the various objects are stacked on top of each other. So in Illustrator, everything is a path outline or some other kind of object that exists at some layer inside of the stack. And then you can pack these things inside of groups and then inside of layers and so forth. But there is ultimately something way at the back of the stack and then something way at the front, and then hundreds, if not thousands, of various path outlines in between. So in our case, we've got these stars that are obnoxiously in front of everything else. For the moment, what I want you to do is twirl open the calendar layer here inside the layers panel, and you'll see this second object down. It's a group called rear stars. For now, I'm just going to hide these objects by clicking on the eyeball in front of them. And then what I want to do is fill in some of these larger circles along the outside of the calendar. So I'll press the V key to switch to the black arrow tool because none of these circles are grouped together. And I'll click on the first circle out that's not filled, the one that runs on the outside of these rectangles here, in order to select that shape. And assuming that your fill is still active, go to the swatches panel and click on that dull blue, the one that says C50, M35, Y20, K0. In order to fill that shape. And now we end up with this strange bowling ball or something with a bunch of different holes in it. Obviously, this circle is totally at the wrong location in the artwork. And you can see that it's very close to the top here inside the layers panel because it is the next path down below rear stars. Let's go ahead and turn it off too so we can better see what we're doing. Next, if you're working along with me, I want you to click on the topmost of these two circles right there, this guy, in order to select it. And we want to fill this with the dark green that is called card table inside the swatches panel. Again, it's covering everything up, but we should be able to work around it. I'm going to click the next shape down, or you could go up to the select menu and choose next object below, which will select the next object directly below the selected one. And that ends up getting us the shape that we're looking for. And I just want to reverse its fill and stroke. So I'll press Shift X so that we now have a black fill and no stroke associated with the shape. Then I'll return to the select menu and choose next object below again. And this time I'll assign a very pale beige. It's C0, M6, Y12, K12 here inside the swatches panel. And then finally, I'll choose that command again. You can bother to remember the keyboard shortcut if you want to. This isn't one of the ones that I've assigned to memory. And that'll select that outermost circle, and then I'll fill it with an even paler beige C0, M3, Y7, K7 in order to create this effect here. Now, I don't want either of these two circles to have strokes, so I'll just go ahead and marquee partially around them, like so. And then I'll go up to the control panel, click on a second swatch in, and change it to none. And then finally, I want to select all these shapes and send them to the back of the stack. So I'll scroll down my list a little bit here inside the layers panel. I'll turn back on that blue circle, and I'll shift click on the meatballs associated with the black, green, and blue circles in order to add them to the selection. That's going to be the easiest way to work where this particular artwork is concerned. And now what you want to do is right-click inside the illustration and choose Arrange. And notice that that brings up a series of stacking commands. So we've got bring to front, which brings the objects all the way to the front of a given container. So because these guys are not grouped, they'd go all the way to the top of the layer. Or you can send them all the way to the back of the layer, and you can also bring them forward or send them backward incrementally. Now, bring to front is exactly the opposite of what we want. That's going to take these objects all the way to the front of the stack so they cover up everything inside the artwork, because this artwork contains one and only one layer. Whereas, if I right-click, choose Arrange, and then choose Send to Back, we're going to get the effect that we're looking for, which is to say the circles will go to the very back of the calendar. Now, a note about these keyboard shortcuts. Even though I told you I don't really use those keyboard shortcuts for next object above and next object below, the selection commands, I do use these. And they're very similar. They both rely on square bracket keys. So we have Control-Shift right bracket to send things to the top of the stack, and we have Control-Shift left bracket to send the selection to the bottom of the stack. And while this may not make a lot of sense, if you come from another software, you may wonder, well, bring to front, why isn't that just Control or Command F? And send it back, what's wrong with Control or Command B? Well, those shortcuts are devoted to much better commands, as we'll see in the next movie. For now, I'll tell you that the good news is that these same shortcuts appear in other Adobe products, most notably Photoshop. So anyway, choose Send to Back or press Control-Shift left bracket to send those circles to the back of the stack. Next, I'm going to switch to the zoomed-in version of my artwork here. And notice that Illustrator has not kept up with things. We should be seeing the exact same progress. After all, this is the exact same piece of artwork. But we have a screen refresh problem. So I'm going to press Control minus or Command minus on the Mac just to step out a little bit here. And that forces Illustrator to redraw the screen so we can see what's actually going on. Notice these inset 4-point stars. They're currently located just above the larger blue star. They should be located in front of those rectangular bars right there. What I need to do is bring them up incrementally, and I can do so by right-clicking in the artwork once again, choosing Arrange, and this time I want not bring all the way to front, but rather bring forward. And bring forward and send backward are going to change the stacking of the selected objects just one object up or down. So if I choose bring forward, that's going to move that artwork just one step up. And as you can see here, it provides us with exactly the results we're looking for. So that's how you select objects up and down the stack, as well as arrange objects using commands like send to back and bring forward. In the next movie, I'll show you another way to select up and down the stack using a special trick associated with the black arrow tool.